Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we're excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Cassie Groeschl, the owner of Wellness That Fits, based out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Cassie is a registered dietitian and mom of 3 who knows firsthand how draining it can feel to juggle family, work, and the never-ending what's for dinner question. Cassie serves moms and families through customized meal plans, one-on-one coaching, a meal plan subscription, courses, retreats, and more. Outside of work, you'll find her in the garden, fishing, or out on family walks with her husband, 3 kids, and their dog. All right, you guys, it's time to turn up your volume. You're going to love these episodes with Cassie. Let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Motherhood Alliance podcast. We are here with Cassie, and we are so excited that we get to talk to you again today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So this episode's all going to be about family meals and, how that really benefits the whole family mentally and physically. First of all, why do you feel that family meals are so important? Why are we even talking about this?
Absolutely. So I would love to walk through an exercise with you guys.
Okay.
So I'm going to be really involving you. And then also I want our listeners to think about this as well. So I want you guys to think about a time when you had just an amazing memory. I'm sure there's like a lot of good memories, but just like bring yourself back to maybe a place where there was tons of love and laughter with others maybe, and just pure happiness and just like you really felt like yourself and just wonderful memory. Okay, and now I hope you're kind of in maybe one of them. I hope you guys have lots of good memories. But now that you're in this memory, I want you to like think about what's going on around you. Think about the environment. So what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell maybe? What do you taste? And I want you to really think about that for a second. And I'm wondering if either of you would share maybe one of your memories that you're thinking of.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of our family vacations down in Florida.
Okay.
I mean, like you said, there's tons of memories, right?
Sure.
But
the one that popped up.
The one that just kind of popped up right away is, we would go down to Florida. When Brittany and I were kids, we would go down to Florida almost every year, and as families, but even with our other, with our husbands and kids too, we would go down there too and enjoy the beaches and the cuisine and everything else too.
The cuisine. Okay. Okay, cool. Do you mind if I ask what yours is?
Yeah, well, actually mine is vacation as well.
Okay.
But honestly, I think it's hard because when you first asked the question, I was like trying to think of a childhood memory. I was kind of like, should I think of something from my childhood? And I can think of a couple of things, but I feel like at this age, a lot of those memories are getting pretty blurry where they don't come forefront of mind. But when I think about being a parent, honestly, anytime that we are outside and doing something as a family that's fun, like even last night, we were outside playing Foursquare in our driveway. And I'm like, gosh, that just fills my heart. A, when they're getting along.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then B, when we can be outside experiencing God's world. Like that just brings me joy.
I love that. I was worried that both you guys would not have a memory around what I'm trying to bring up here, but so I'll just share mine too, because I do think like you had mentioned a little bit like cuisine. So some of my best memories are just like when we had family gatherings or Christmas and things, and a common denominator in a lot of like those family gatherings. Anytime you get together with loved ones and friends, that common denominator is food.
Yeah.
And I think like food really brings people together and it, expresses culture. And, when you're in Florida, maybe like the cuisine of Florida, you got to like learn and experience new culture and then talk about it maybe. And so I think food we have such good memories around food, like a lot of the memories that we have. And there's a piece to that. I think food brings people together. It helps, like I said before, it helps express culture. And it's so interesting, like doing more research into this, in that family dinner time or mealtime, actually research shows that frequent family meals are associated with better family connectedness and higher well-being. And so it just makes sense in the fact that we have such good memories, around food and that connection piece of like other human beings and being social. And so there's a lot of research, like I said, behind that. And so I think I could talk maybe a little bit about the specific findings that I saw,
absolutely.
because it was just like amazing. But a lot of the research looks at the nutrition and diet quality, as well as mental health and emotional well-being. And then also like being a protective buffer against risks. And so if we kind of like step back and look at the nutrition piece, they were actually finding that families who eat together more frequently, have better nutrition quality, just like better diet quality. And then for the connected piece, they were finding that kids who eat together, and these were very large studies, by the way. These are like thousands. One was 8,000, one was 9,000,
Oh, wow.
One was like 23,000. So like big studies that looked at like school age kids, and they saw depression is lower in kids who partake in family meals, and they also saw, when we talk about risky behaviors, the rate of suicide and also eating behaviors is lower in kids who have like a frequent family sit down. And so it's just, I think, just so important that we make time for this in our schedules. I know we're all super busy, but it impacts the emotional and mental well-being of our families so much that I think it's something that we should really focus on and work it into our busy calendars.
What would you say is the ideal frequency in reality? Because, it may not happen every night, but is it like a couple times a week and then you'll see some of those benefits? Is it really ideally 4 times a week? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking to the science behind it, it was like greater or equal to 5 meals a week. And it didn't necessarily say dinner. It was just meals a week. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible parent. We never do 5 meals a week together. And what I say to that is like, one more today is better than, none last week, right? And so if you can find one meal, it doesn't need to be dinner time. I know dinner time is really busy with families that have events and things. If you can find one meal time, maybe it's something as simple as Saturday morning breakfast, where you can sit together, make that consistent. Maybe it's Sunday lunchtime. Find one meal, stick with it for a couple of weeks, then slowly add more meals. And even so, sometimes people say, again, with the dinner time is really hard. But if you can find connection over breakfast, again, breakfast is, the morning time can be morning time chaos. But growing up, actually, we sat down for breakfast with my dad. My mom would be getting ready because it was just our time with him. And I mean, we still saw him frequently, like at night and sports events and things like that. But I have fond memories of just having like a sit down. We had a devotion and we had breakfast time together. And it was just like memories that stick out in my mind, of that family time that we had.
I love that.
I do feel like, when you sit down and you're eating, I mean, keeping the phones away, keeping all that, off to the side, because I just think of how fast our world goes, how busy our schedules are. And I just love that idea of, I mean, I do this at home too, but I love being able to talk to my kids. Like we're looking at each other in our eyes, eating our food and talking about our days and just what's going on in life. And, I do like your encouragement too. Like it doesn't have to be dinner, because I feel like a lot of people feel like it has to be a family dinner kind of thing. And you're right. We are so busy.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And I think like too, you touched on a couple of the points already. It's not the meal really that matters, but what's happening at the table. And so I think like my best tips for that would be like, what you said, screen free. Like that's when we really can get connection with people. You're looking at people in their eyes. And even having your phone, you guys have probably heard statistics about this, but even having your phone, face down next to you can really be a distraction. And so remove all screens. Some families watch TV while they're eating. I would say turn it off, right? It helps with mindfulness and like listening to your body and hunger satiety cues as well. And even if you're eating together as a family at the TV, I would say maybe just try to turn the TV off and talk to each other. But yeah, that no screen time is key. And I would also say, like, when you say asking each other about their day, maybe create like a family ritual around like, are you going to ask the same question? Or, what we currently have, and I try to switch it up, but we have like a bowl in the middle of our table and it has like Scrabble pieces. So like all different, letters of the alphabet. And we'll pick up one that my kids are young, so they're like 6, 4 and 2, 3 today actually. But we'll pick up a Scrabble piece and we'll be like, oh, can you see anything that starts with this letter? Right. And so that's something for young kids, but there are a lot of different things that we can incorporate at that mealtime that really helps us explore and see into their day. How was their day at school? And what did you learn today? And what was something that made you laugh today? And so it's just such a good opportunity to have that connection.
I would also say too with the screen, because I know some people are like, we just like the background noise. How about switching? I heard that. What about switching it to like just like classical music or like something, if you need background noise, switching it to something else where it's.
Yeah, and I'd also like wonder, I would really challenge that mindset and like, why do you need background noise?
Yes.
Are you able to like focus and be present in the moment with that background noise? And I don't know.
That's a really good, just start thinking about that,
Right. I like that though. Classical music is great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many benefits to it in like babies and studying and things. So why wouldn't it be for dinner time?
Right. We've done that before and it just kind of helps not lighten, but like just gets the mood a little bit more calm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe my kids would like that.
Try it.
Something in the background.
Yeah, there you
go.
Out of curiosity, as a dietitian, do you ever find yourself kind of using those family meal times to educate your kids about healthy choices or portion sizes or balanced plates? Like, is that a time that we should be using that time for education, or is it really just a time to like connect via the Scrabble or the conversation or whatever?
I would say it is a time to do that. I would say if you're not really doing it, the best thing to do is just do it and focus on that connection piece. Now, once you get the hang of that, it is a wonderful time to talk about nutrition and to talk about balanced meals. We had a food adventurer sticker chart where we would, have like you get a sticker for like if you eat a protein, a grain, a veggie, and fruit. So you can incorporate some of those fun ideas into it. But no, absolutely. My second son is just like being fully honest. Like he's a wonderful eater. My first is a little bit more picky. He's a great eater. He eats everything. He'll eat like a full salmon fillet. Like he eats a lot. And so we would be like, great job, Emma, like praising him almost for it to try to almost get like our first son to like eat more. And it's so funny because then he eats a lot. And we've had to start bringing into the conversation over the past couple of months, like, honey, are you, why don't we listen to your body? Let's take a break. And so introducing some of those like mindfulness techniques and like, let's set your fork down, maybe take a couple of drinks of your milk or your water. And like, let's see, does your belly still feel full? Like, are you really hungry? I'm happy to give you more food, but like, let's make sure you're really still hungry. And so I think dinner time is a great time to be intentional in how we're teaching our kids and, like let's eat leafy greens or eat your broccoli because, you're going to be strong and like feeling their muscles and like, where did that broccoli go? You just swallowed it. Here it went in your arm, And so we love to do that kind of fun stuff, especially with little kids. Of course, the environment's going to change when you have older kids and you can do some different things, but
talk about more of like eat your protein first. That'll fill you up
or something. Yes. Or like, if your kid's in a sport, like I actually had a client who we talked a lot about this. Her kids were in baseball and we talked really a lot about like their positions and what kind of body movements and what kind of strength did they need to do to be really good at that position. And then we started talking about like iron and protein and things that really help that along. And so, dinner time is a wonderful opportunity to talk about those things.
Is there any way we can take these principles on the road? So if you're even tonight, we're going to be running from one thing to another. And it's like, we're going to be eating a quick meal in the car.
Yeah.
And so we won't be able to have that eye contact, but we're still shoved in one space together. So how can we maximize that time?
Absolutely. Like, I think so. Yes. Like, looking at each other maybe would be best, but like, just still you're together, you're talking about your day. And another thing is, let's say your family's broken up, like this one's going to this sport and dad's taking this kid to this and mom's taking this kid to this. You could create those meals or those snacks together that you're going to be taking in the car. You could create it together the night before or on a Sunday with your family, right? You'd be like, okay, what snacks are we going to make out of the snack bin, and you throw something together and use that time, even though you're only prepping like the snack and throwing it together, use that time. Another thing that I thought of too is like, let's say, you're off on one event and a kid is at home. They like don't have their event starting till later. So you're like, hey, by the way, this is in the fridge. By meal prepping, you have something in the fridge at all times that the family eventually is going to eat. And I know this sounds like kind of like it's a little silly, but like, even let's say you made a lasagna, being like, hey, how was the lasagna? Oh, you liked it and you liked it. Like having that connectedness of one meal, I think I know that sounds a little silly because it's like getting really down and like nitty gritty, but like that, even you could be talking about the same thing or just having anything that can connect you, could be helpful. Yeah.
And I think having these family meals is a great way to encourage kids to try foods over and over again.
Absolutely.
They can see, like you talked about in a previous episode, the modeling piece is so important. I've shared this on a prior episode, but it's actually worked pretty well for my kids, is we talk about how every night that they grow bigger, they heal from owies or injuries, right? And they grow new taste buds. And so even though you didn't like broccoli last week, you may have grown that taste bud. Even last night, I made some zuppa toscana soup. My son has finally gotten to the age where he will usually eat the soups. My daughter is still a soup skeptic. And she tried it and she was like, I'm like, you grew your soup taste bud. All right.
I love that.
So it's just,
oh my gosh, I'm going to steal that.
Yeah,
that's such a good idea.
It's just a fun way to get them to try and keep eating those things over and over again. But
yeah,
I just want to bring back that piece of modeling that you talked about when it comes to picky eaters, especially, of trying to just encourage them to try all the foods.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think we actually should talk about this just for a second, because a lot of us have problems with picky eaters. And let's say you make broccoli like 3 times and you're like, my kid never eats it. Actually takes like a kid 14 to 17 times of trying, even just like being introduced to it in order to actually try it or even eat it. And that's for neurodivergent normal kids. And so we have to really increase the amount that we're serving that food and to increase exposure to different foods, and also prepare it in different ways. So one kid who doesn't like steamed broccoli, he might love roasted broccoli, or he might like the crunchiness of a raw broccoli with ranch dip or something. And so not only introducing that food multiple times, but in multiple different ways. And don't feel down on yourself. Like, if, your job as a parent is to decide what time dinner is, what you're going to be serving. And their job really is to decide like how much they're going to eat. And that's really hard for us too. That is the hardest thing for me, at least, is not being like, and I'm not going to lie. Okay, one more bite, let's try to get this before a treat. And, there's a lot, we could have a whole episode on that, but like with picky eaters, I think just constantly encouraging, talking about the benefits behind the specific food is really important. And then, like you said, modeling that behavior. I will have a Chinese cabbage salad that I'll be eating. And I have the same thing on my daughter's plate, and she won't eat it, but she wants my salad. So she'll eat off of my fork and eat the same salad and love it and eat half of it, but she won't eat it on her plate. So it's just like what mom and dad do is cooler than what they do, at least with little kids.
Well, kind of on that topic, your kids are younger than ours are, but I'm specifically thinking about, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and those age groups. There's a lot of people, when they're hearing this conversation, they're envisioning that picture perfect mealtime where everybody's getting along, and everybody's smiling, and you're having this beautiful family meal. But in reality, oftentimes it's, if you have 3 kids, one is saying more milk, and somebody else saying, I need a fork, or I have a spoon for my pear sauce, but I want a spoon for my yogurt too. Can you get me another spoon? And it's a constant request, typically to the parents, especially before they're of the age of helping themselves to things.
Yes.
And so mom is up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. How do you navigate that while still having this family time?
Yes. Great question. Wow. Do I have a really good answer for you? I'm not sure, because I think, especially when they're too young, you almost have to like, I don't want to say you have to go get it, but like try to encourage and show the purpose behind one spoon or whatever. But I do think even like my 3-year-old, I'll say, go get a fork. So I mean, I think as moms, we think we need to be doing everything, and oh my gosh, we put so much on ourselves. I'm like, to my 4-year-old, I'm like, go get your own milk. Yeah. And we just started that recently, but he knows where the little stool is. He knows how to be careful. Obviously, if it's like a super full gallon of milk, I will help with that. But like trying to encourage those life skills in our kids so that they can start realizing, oh my gosh, I can do this on my own. And guess what? If they go get their own fork and they go pour their own milk, they're probably gonna, use that fork to eat, and they're probably gonna drink all their milk like you want them to do.
Well, it gives them more confidence too,
right,
to just do what they're like, oh, I need a fork. I'll just go get it. Like, because I'm confident I can go, I don't need my mom all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to back it up even further, I think this is also why I'm so passionate about meal prep, is because by that time when you're sitting down and your kids have 1,000 requests, you're like overstimulated, ready to snap at everybody. And you're just like, I can't take it. And then somebody says they don't like it. And you're like,
yeah, I have a question about that one. Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, go ahead with you.
Yeah. So, my kids are almost 12 and 9, almost 12, like in a couple weeks, which is crazy. But even like I made some food the other day, they kind of like the smell of it. We sit down and then they look at it like, oh, I don't like that. And I'm like, you didn't even try,
Mm-hmm.
And I have some ways of like talking to them about this, but what is your thoughts on this? Because sometimes it's like, why do I even try? I should just give them chicken nuggets every night because they just like that, and nobody's going to complain, and I'm not going to hear about it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I'm trying to give you a nutrient-dense food here.
Yep. So here's another thing where, again, I don't have a magic wand too. It's going to be one of those things that we be consistent at as parents, that we are going to serve them, healthy foods, and they have the option to eat that food or not. Now, in my family, we do have you need to try it.
Yeah.
And then also on their plate, I put, like, if it is a new food, I'll also put something that they're really familiar with. And even just the other night, I don't do this all the time, but I'll sometimes put the dessert on the plate too, so that they know, like, okay, like I still get a dessert, but you still need to eat, like, you still need to try this other food. So again, I don't have like a magic wand for you. I think as parents, we just need to be strong in our values and our beliefs and say, I would like you to try it, and it gets exhausting. But here's back to that point of the exhaustion and the overstimulation. I'm going to back up and think about like your day prior to sitting down at the table. And if you are making your whole dinner and you also didn't even have a plan, so you're trying to plan something last minute, think of the overwhelm and the overstimulation you already have when you're finally sitting down. So like, let's say you come home and you don't even have a meal plan, right? You're like, I don't know. Okay. I'll throw something together quick. So already you're mentally exhausted because you also probably work too. And then let's say you prep the whole meal, and let's say it's quick. It was 20, 30 minutes, but you're like, got to wipe this kid's butt, got to do this, got to run these.
Kitchen's a disaster.
This one's fighting over how long a goldfish lives. Like, you're just like, oh my gosh, you're this moderator. So you're overstimulated, even more exhausted, and you're prepping food. And then you finally sit down and you're just like, done, checked out, just, and somebody makes a comment or a kid doesn't want to eat.
I don't want it.
Yeah. And so that's why it's just, that's like the tipping point.
Yeah.
And that's again why I'm like, if you prep most of the stuff ahead of time, you come at dinner time almost with a more peace and more calm, so that you can handle those things. You can take a breath instead of just eat it, which I've definitely done. But you can be like, oh my goodness, you don't like that, do you? Okay, well, let's think about what we can do about this. Well, in this family, we do have to try the food, and let's think about, do you know what that's even good for? Like, I bet you don't know. And then they're kind of like, what, Mom? And then you like kind of talk about like what it's good for, like what we already mentioned, how it can nourish their bodies, how it can help in school, obviously gear it toward like their life and what they're experiencing. Are they trying to win an award or do something, book
What's
event
in it
or
for
something?
them?
What's in it for
What's
them,
in
right?
it for them? Mm-hmm.
And like tie it to that. And you just have so much more sanity to be able to do that. Because I will tell you, if I had to do all the things ahead of time, I'd be like, nobody talk to me.
Right,
and just
exactly.
shush.
I'm gonna go. I'm going in this corner over here, and no one can talk to me, and no one complains.
Well, and I think from when my kids were little, I'll give a shout out to Daniel Tiger here, because there was a book, Daniel Tiger book, that we were reading one night, and in that book, somebody didn't care for something and they said, it's not my favorite.
Yes.
And so I instilled that rule. It's okay if something's not your favorite, but that's how you share that.
Absolutely.
That's how you say it, because whether it's me or whether you're at grandma's house or you're in a restaurant, saying, I don't like it is so disrespectful to the person that just spent so much time preparing that food for you. And so you're going to show thankfulness. You're going to show gratitude and just respect.
Absolutely.
Around
That's
it.
so true. I think
All of our faces right now are like, we can all feel this, right?
That's
But
the truth, though. Like when the kid or anybody just says, I don't like it. And they may not have meant to purposely be disrespectful, but for that person to have just gone through all of that, whether you meal prepped or not, to be honest, and then it's just like, you don't like it, that's just.
And that was one of the other points that I was going to say, is like that respectful piece and just communicating those things with them and having more sanity around and patience to do that. And like, if you are able to say, okay, well, you know what? Mom doesn't always love, everything that I make. Sometimes it's an experiment, and sometimes I just eat it. Just that's what's for dinner tonight.
it doesn't have to be your favorite.
Right,
it can just be
exactly
tolerable.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's not my job to make things that there are 10 on the scale every single night. I'm just nourishing you.
Oh, so funny. Well, this is a really good conversation. I just love the feeling I get when I think about having family meals together. It can be really hard, and we want to acknowledge that. But like Cassie said, anytime you are making time for this, you're doing something amazing for your family. So, but we love to finish out our series together with just asking the question of, Cassie, what does the future hold for Wellness That Fits?
Yes. So it is my mission really just to empower women and to inspire women to show up with more energy for their families. I know, obviously if you improve your nutrition, you can live longer, have less chronic disease, and those are all important things. But I think the most important thing to me is inspiring women to show up better for themselves today, for their families and for their communities today, because I think we have a lot to offer. And so the future is really just continuing, collaborating with people and great businesses like you guys, Motherhood Alliance, to try to get the word out to more people and inspire more women. And I have a lot of different offerings that help women between meal prep course and meal plan subscription, which helps take that decision fatigue away. And so really just reaching more women. And I also am starting a podcast. Woo-hoo. Yes, to try to get some more ideas and content and inspiration out there and education to really help. Because again, there's a lot of noise out there with social media and nutrition.
Especially in nutrition.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So really just, sifting through the science and then seeing what science says in a holistic manner.
I love that. So, and it's all great because this is why all the guests from our podcast are Northeast Wisconsin based. And so it's people that are local and you can actually work with and you can meet up for coffee with and see face to face, which is so amazing. So when do you hope to launch your podcast?
Well, by the time this launches, I'm hoping it's already launched. So at the end of the year.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
Yay. So exciting. I do want to mention also that Cassie is being very generous in offering 50% off your first month of the Wellness That Fits meal plan subscription. So this is, like she just mentioned, it's a subscription. You'll get weekly meal plans, right? Yep. And then you'll get 50% off by using the code MA50. So thank you for offering that to our listeners.
Absolutely.
You are amazing. You're a wealth of knowledge.
Gosh, thank you.
We need more people like you in the world who are educating from the heart, and educating people so that they can make their own choices within their own homes and helping them to nourish their families well and build those family connections.
Grace too. Doing it through grace and encouragement. Yeah.
Instead of fear.
That's huge.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me on the podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.